You're listening to Thunder and Lightning on SuperTalk Mississippi, covering Mississippi State sports like nobody else. With Sports Talk Mississippi's Brian Hadad and Robbie Faulk of On3 Sports. Now get ready for Thunder and Lightning.
It's Thunder and Lightning here on SuperTalk Mississippi. It just sounds loud. It just sounds loud. I'm just being sure here, folks.
Test.
I should check that before we start. This is Thunder and Lightning live here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Brian Hadad and Robbie Faulk here with you on a Thursday morning. Thanks for joining us here at supertalk.fm or wherever it is that you get podcasts from. We appreciate you guys out there, our great listeners. There's some static. Hold on, I know why. A little inside baseball right here coming your way. This studio is also used by the legend himself, Jim Ellis, to record a weekly show he does here on WKBB for Super Talk. And its setup is different than my setup. So sometimes he was just in here 3 minutes ago.
Are my levels okay?
You're good. We're all good.
Okay.
There's just some issues there for a second. Third time's the charm. This is Thunder and Lightning here on Super Talk Mississippi. Brian Hadad and Robbie Faulk here with you on a Thursday morning. Thanks for joining us here at supertalk.fm or wherever it is that you get podcasts from. We appreciate you guys out there, our great listeners, especially our servicemen and women out there taking care of us. I want to thank our sponsors over at Strange Brew Coffee House and Churn and Spoon Ice Cream. Start your day the right way with a trip to the drive-thru over at Strange Brew Coffee House here in Starkville or at Brupolo over in Tupelo. It'd be a little weird, Robbie, if Brupolo was in Foot.
That would be a little weird. F-O-O-T-E?
Yes.
Okay. Like Shelby.
In the Delta.
Like Shelby Foot?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's in Washington County. Also, it's gone by two other names in its history. It's also gone by Colmere and Dudley.
I kind of like Dudley.
I gotta be honest, yeah.
Foot.
There's a plantation house there, Mount Holly, which was the property of Hezekiah William Foote in the 1880s.
Oh.
He was a wealthy planter, a Confederate officer, and a member of the Mississippi House of Representatives and the Mississippi Senate. And there it is. Huger's grandson was author Shelby Foote.
Really?
So it's named after the guy.
Oh, that's interesting.
Okay, there we go. We see, this is why we do this. We get these little
Shelby Foote's granddad.
His great granddad. His great granddad was a Confederate soldier and a member of both houses of the Mississippi legislature.
How about that?
And then his granddad was also a member of the Senate. So, I mean, there you go. I wonder why Shelby got into history. I wonder why that was.
The Civil War, I still have not been able to read that book, but it's on my list.
There you go. Wherever you are in our
and he is. I was looking at Shelby Foote's biography.
Mm-hmm.
He actually went to Greenville High School.
That's believable. Yeah, I mean he's from that area, so yeah. Wherever you are in our great state, you can enjoy Strange Brew Coffee each and every morning. It's only a click away at strangebrewcoffeehouse.com. The Mississippi Beef Council wants to remind you that beef, it is what's for dinner. If you're cooking out this weekend, nothing beats the sizzle of beef on the grill, and we are in cookout. This is the sweet spot. I say that all year, all seasons are grilling season. You can grill when it's cold, when it's hot, when it's raining, when it's snowing, whatever. But right now, Memorial Day through 4th of July is the peak of grilling season, right? Now, after the 4th of July, it's hot. I get it's hot. Maybe it's not as peak. This is the sweet spot. So I'm telling you this weekend, get out there and fire up the grill and put some steaks on there. Or if you want to go all day with a brisket, ain't nobody going to stop you, brother. Beef, it's what's for dinner. Thanks to our friends, the Mississippi Beef Council. College Corner, collegecornerstore.com is the place to find the maroon and white merchandise that you're looking for, and it's the place to find the Father's Day gift you are looking for. You need to get Dad some new gear. He's been rocking that same tired, tattered Banner M polo since Sylvester Croom was the head coach. Get him a new one already. Tell him it's time. He can't call it lucky. He can't call it. There is no Mississippi State article of clothing that can be considered lucky. I'll just go ahead and tell you. You've worn it to too many losses. So let's get some fresh gear in there at College Corner. 2 locations in the Jackson area, originally by Fleet Feet, Florida by the Half Shell, or you can shop online at collegecornerstore.com. I actually I used to have what I called the Lucky Polo. And it's old enough that it's the old Banner M, right? It's the Crew M. But I was wearing it at a baseball game where we were cooking, and it caught on fire, and I didn't die. So that's why I thought it was the lucky polo. There was a hole in the bottom of it.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
Where is it now?
It's gone.
It didn't survive.
Yeah,
But at least it survived that.
It survived catching on fire. Restaurant Tyler is Starkville's flagship restaurant for lunch, dinner, or Sunday brunch. You can always get the best meal in town at Restaurant Tyler. We do love a Restaurant Tyler lunch here on Thunder and Lightning. We love the blue plate, Robbie fried chicken, Hadad or fried catfish too.
Catfish as well.
I'm a blackened catfish guy. Save some calories. It's still the same delicious catfish. I get that crawfish sauce on there. It's all good. I love to go there. You will too. If you're in Starkville around lunchtime, make it easy on yourself. Head over to Restaurant Tyler. Priority One Bank has 16 locations to serve you throughout Central Mississippi. If you live in Central Mississippi, you live near a Priority One Bank location. You need to get involved with Priority One Bank. If you have questions about your money, you want to talk to people who know what they're talking about. You want to talk to people who know you and your money, not one or the other. Why get one when you can just get both? And that's the level of service you're only going to get at Priority One Bank. Let Priority One Bank make you their priority. Robbie about to hit the road. He's headed to Tallahassee as soon as we wrap up here today. We've got a really good show planned. Later in the show, Isaac Trotter of 24/7. Remember that 24/7 site? You remember that?
Yes.
But he is one of the best in the business with college basketball. I want to get his thoughts on State's transfer portal class. He's the guy to talk to. But before we do that, it's time to start updating some hot boards and some stuff like that. We've got to talk some MSU baseball coaching search. And we had Kendall Rogers on the show on Sports Talk Mississippi yesterday. Validated a lot of what I've been reading on your updates on 3 about Brian O'Connor, about Mark Wasikowski, and of course now the new name that I've added to the hot board in conversations with you and with Kendall and with other folks is Dan Fitzgerald from Kansas. I'm really starting to feel like that's the 3. But what I'm going to say about this search is this. Every board I've put out has had Brian O'Connor's name on it. I think every update you've done has had Brian O'Connor's name in it. He is the number 1 candidate. He is the guy Zach Selman wants to take the job. Mm-hmm. Anybody else, they can, spin it however they want. They were the second choice. And these are some good second choices. Wasikowski would be an outstanding second choice. Fitzgerald appears to be a really good planned C. But make no mistake that Brian O'Connor is the guy that Zach Selman wants to see in the dugout at Dudy Noble Field next year.
He is. He's been the guy, I believe, from the start. We've been very consistent in our reporting here. We haven't bounced around. We haven't changed it up. We've been consistent. Brian O'Connor has had interest in leaving Virginia. I believe that to be a fact. I don't think anything has changed in that regard. I think that there is, obviously, with him, and just like I reported last night and I reported the last couple of weeks, it's going to be him coming to grips with the fact that he's going to have to pull away from Virginia. Mm-hmm. It's going to be, that's going to be the decision he's going to have to make. Can I leave this place that I've built from the ground up and I've been so successful and, for the most part has really supported him during his career? That's going to be the ultimate decision that he's going to have to make. But I don't believe that decision has been made. I do not believe that decision was made earlier this week or last week. I don't think anything has been decided by him. Any reports that he's staying or going are premature at this point. But I do believe that Mississippi State has been deep in conversations with him. Mm-hmm. I believe that he's very interested in this job. I believe that the resources that Mississippi State has his attention. The Mississippi State is willing to give him what he needs to come here and compete and win national championships. The first day we had this conversation, it was very soon after the news broke that Chris Lemonis was leaving. Mm-hmm. I said that I felt like it was going to be really hard to pull an elite coach to Mississippi State. Probably 2 hours after that, my opinion drastically changed. And here's why my opinion drastically changed.
You got to be I got to give you credit for that, though. And I'm the same way. When we get new information, we change our minds.
I don't mind saying I'm wrong with that.
I will never dig into a position and just be like, I'm right.
After I really started kind of making phone calls and talking to people about what they plan to do with baseball.
Mm-hmm.
My mind changed pretty quickly, and like I said, I've been pretty consistent since that moment. That day, I heard Brian O'Connor's name as a real possibility, and I think Kendall Rogers came out and put him on his hot board. Kendall's kind of been on that same train. Pete Nakos has been on that same train as well. We're all hearing the same things, and I don't believe this is agent play.
Mm-hmm.
Brian O'Connor got a raise last year. He's making good money at Virginia, but the difference is what Mississippi State is willing to devote to baseball compared to Virginia.
Right.
And I've talked about this before. The game is changing with these coaches. They no longer care as much about how much money they can make. It's how successful can I be at this current stop. And for Brian O'Connor, he knows what he's going to have to give to recruits, to give to his roster, to build a roster that's going to be able to compete. He knows what he has from a facility standpoint. He knows what he has here as far as the NIL pool is concerned. And based on my conversations with Mississippi State folks, just on a general conversation about what's going on with baseball, I believe that Mississippi State is doubling down on supporting baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And because, here's the fact of the matter. While this sport doesn't make money and it's not important in a lot of places, Mississippi State has an opportunity here to be truly elite in a sport. And it's kind of my same thought about when women's basketball was really good. I felt like Mississippi State should have given Vic Schaefer what he needed to continue to be elite at that sport. And now that you're not, you can argue it, but with Mississippi State baseball, it is the one sport that Mississippi State has that it can compete nationally year in and year out. It doesn't matter the coach. It transcends who the coach is. But Mississippi State has never hired a coach like Brian O'Connor.
Right.
Ever. They have never gone and plucked an elite head coach in any sport from another spot to come to Mississippi State. Baseball is the one sport that you can do that. And I think that's what we're seeing here. I think Zach Selman is going to not take no for an answer when it comes to Brian O'Connor. And until Brian O'Connor says flat out, no, I'm not taking the job, or Virginia comes out and says, we're happy to report that Brian O'Connor's going to stay here until he retires. Whatever.
Right.
Until that happens, Mississippi State is going to continue to push to land Brian O'Connor as the next head coach.
The fact that that hasn't happened yet tells you really everything you need to know.
Yeah.
Because they would have put out the graphic like here forever or whatever it's going to be. That would have been out by now.
Yes.
So that debate is still happening.
We've seen Wes Johnson come out
Exactly.
deny taking the job. Georgia gave him an extension. Brian O'Connor's season is concluded. So it could happen in the next 5 minutes. I don't know. I'm not in conversations with Virginia and Brian O'Connor and his agent, whatever. That stuff could come out. He could come out today and say, I'm absolutely not taking this job. I'm happy where I'm at. I'm not leaving Virginia, whatever. But it hasn't. And that tells me and confirms what I'm hearing behind the scenes, that Mississippi State continues to have these conversations with Brian O'Connor to try to make him the next head coach. And on top of that, I have from a very good source that's not related to Mississippi State that Brian O'Connor is having conversations with other coaches, telling them about his interest in this job. And I believe that he is targeting some of the best assistant coaches in America, including Wake Forest's pitching coach, Mascara,
Corey Mascara,
who I believe could be the best pitching coach in the country.
I think if you had a ranking of pitching coaches, as good as Parker is even, I think you would rank Mascara probably number one in the country.
Yeah.
And so that is a bold statement that to even put that out there. That's out there. But
I think
that shows you, again, going back to what you were just saying, Mississippi State has made a decision at this point. I made this comment a few weeks ago, and I think it bears repeating. When you look at South Carolina, they don't make any money on women's basketball, but they have made a conscious decision to support women's basketball because it brings a tremendous amount of positive attention to their university.
Yeah,
And
I mean, you
Mississippi
look at
State,
women's basketball is more popular than baseball.
it is.
And
But they
people
still
don't want to hear that.
They lose
but
a
it
ton,
is.
they lose a ton of money.
They do.
They pay Dawn Staley an exorbitant salary, but she wins so much it looks good.
It's
Mississippi
worth it.
State likes the idea, I think, of, hey, we have this incredible stadium. We have all this tradition. What if we were the best program in the country?
Yep.
And then you're like, well, what can you say about Mississippi State? They win. They have the best stadium, the best fans. That's attractive. And so that decision, I feel like, has been made. It's like, we may lose some money on it, but we are going to make this program what it really, truly should be.
And I think they should do that at this point. Because again, they have won a national championship now, so you've now put away any fears of not being able to win a title at Mississippi State. They've actually shown they can do it with a guy that they fired. So if you have a coach that has a real plan in place that is going to attack the portal, that's going to bring in the best recruits that Mississippi State's ever brought in, whatever, what can this program do when it's not so volatile? Because we've seen this program have extreme highs and extreme lows. What can they do when it's just steady? And they did it with Ron Polk. He didn't win a national championship, but he was continuously competing and winning the SEC championships, hosting regionals in Starkville that had never really been done before. Bringing in some of the best talent in the country. Ron Polk did not have a lot of these years that we've seen since he left, and you could argue part of that was because of how he left his tenure and things started to go downhill a little bit. But Mississippi State had a coach and had a team and a program that was at the top of the game. That's what you're trying to get back to. And here's the thing. This program can make money. I believe this program can make money.
Yeah.
And I think Zach Selman is finding ways to do that.
Some people wouldn't want to hear this, but I know an easy way to make some money.
Hike up the prices
on the rigs.
Which I believe they will do. I think that's going to happen. And they should. It's simple economics, supply and demand. You should price some of these people out of those seats. I hate it for those people, but if you're wanting to make money for your university, that's how it has to be. If there's a very strong demand for season tickets, and there's a lot of people that have just been sitting on them. Some of them don't even come to the games anymore. Yeah. They just have the tickets. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think you're going to start to see prices rise, and they're going to try to make some money. That's going to have to pay off, some of what they're going to have to spend to do this. If they hire Brian O'Connor, they're going to be paying a lot of money for a head coach. If they somehow get Corey Muscara, that's even
big money there.
Because that's a guy that he could very easily have a head coaching job right now.
The other thing we haven't talked about, but we've heard it, you and I both heard it from different people, is that Mississippi State wants to try to set up a professional style operation in terms of a player evaluation, running the transfer portal. The term being thrown around is general manager, an actual GM of the baseball program who's basically their job is going to be scouting players into the portal and making sure that Mississippi State is ahead of the curve on everybody, setting up a true, almost like a scouting network.
Well, State should
again, that's something that it's going to cost money, but it feels like State's ready to invest in that.
State should be at the forefront in everything in college baseball.
It should.
State should have. We thought they were going to have a good situation in NIL right out of the gates. You had your former head coach as the AD, and you got NIL, and it just wasn't in place, and so you're behind there. But you have a stadium that is second to none in college baseball. There's no argument to be made. Dudy Noble is the best stadium in college baseball.
Yeah.
You have a fan base that LSU is more rabid. Yeah. LSU travels better.
Well, we'll just say that State's passion for baseball is near the top of the sport.
It's very, very high. It's one of the best. You need to be able to back that up. Yeah. For so long we've just talked about, well, State has great fan support. State has the top 25 attendance records, but the trophy case doesn't really back it up. You have a national championship now. That's awesome. You've won one SEC title since 1989. That there's teams out there that just simply don't support baseball, like Mississippi State, that have had far more success. Vanderbilt has 2 national titles. Look at what they've done over the years. Mississippi State, it's time for them to act like the big time program that they say they are.
Mm-hmm.
John Cohen told people when he was doing his coaching search, he was going to hire a guy that has College World Series experience, one of the best coaches in the country, and he hired a guy that did not have College World Series experience. That's a head coach at least, and that had middling.
Despite him trying to convince us otherwise, yeah.
And he had middling results.
Yeah.
And after 2021, you got middling results.
But you have to preface that a little bit. Yeah, he did win a national title.
You do have to give him credit for the national title, but he followed that up with, quite frankly, very mid-level results, mid-level SEC to lower-level SEC results for a program that just won the national title.
Absolutely.
He has not backed it up. So this time around, Zach Selman is going for the big fish, and we'll see if he's able to get it. But I believe wholeheartedly that Brian O'Connor is the top target, is Mississippi State's choice to be the head coach, and it's his job to turn down.
If State gets eliminated this weekend, would you expect a new coach by like Tuesday, Wednesday of next week?
If it's Brian O'Connor, absolutely.
Okay.
If it's not Brian O'Connor,
might drag out a little bit.
Then I think
because at that point it depends, like who is the person been eliminated yet?
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing, I think that Zach Selman is handling this coaching search really, really well. And it seems to be some information getting out, but I don't think it's from him. I don't think he's tipping people off. But from who he's targeting, we believe Brian O'Connor's number one. I believe there's interest in Mark Wazakowski, and some people have said that there's not, but I believe that there is.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's been any conversations between Zach Selman and Mark Wazakowski.
I would not expect that there would have been. Zach Wazakowski is still coaching games.
Yeah.
His team is still alive. He would not be taking interviews.
Which, by the way, no one reported that.
Yeah.
No one reported that Mark Wazakowski has talked to Mississippi State. And I don't understand why that was so combated. But anyway, I believe Mark Wazakowski is interested in the Mississippi State job. I've said that for now 3 or 4 weeks. Now national pundits are saying the same thing. So I don't know what to tell you on that. But he's interested, and I believe he's also interested if that A&M job opens up. If that opens up, that's a possibility, although I believe Dan Hefner is going to push for that job. I think Rob Vaughn is up for that job as well.
Kendall Rogers made it pretty clear, I thought, on yesterday's Sports Talk Mississippi that Rob Vaughn is the number one guy for that job.
I think that's probably accurate.
Did you hear what he said about how they plan to handle that? So they feel like they got screwed last year because Texas waited until the last second, right? They waited until when A&M was eliminated. 10 hours later, he's the head coach of Texas. That's what they're going to do. As soon as Alabama is eliminated, they're going to fire early and get Rob Vaughn. That's what he thinks will happen.
Makes complete sense.
He's like, they're not going to leave anything to chance on that.
Yeah, that makes complete sense.
So
get him in place.
Yeah,
you don't make any because they were burned. I think on what happened with Schloss.
Yeah.
But speaking of Schloss, Brian O'Connor is a Schloss hire. It's actually, you could argue it could be as good from a results standpoint. He's actually won a national title.
Mm-hmm.
That is your Schloss hire that you tried to get in 2018. So,
yeah.
We'll see what happens.
There we go. All right, we will continue to update as we can. Sports Talk Mississippi, Thunder and Lightning on 3. Talking Dogs. You never know. You never know where we're going to pop up with information. So we'll when we have it, you will have it.
You can join our site and stay up to date on it.
Would you like to?
For $1, you get 3 months.
$1.
$1.
That's a hell of a deal.
Yep.
Well, there you go. All right. Let's move into the rest of the show. That's brought to you by our friends over at Two Brothers Smoked Meats in the heart of the Cotton District. And, of course, the older brother. Had a guy on the C Spire text line yesterday was talking about he's moving to Starkville, and I was like, throw out some restaurant names. He's like, I haven't been to the older brother yet. I was like, brother, you gotta go. And he
gotta go.
He said he said he's a big fan of Two Brothers, but he hadn't tried the older brother yet. I'm like, it's right there. It's right next door. You could go get like a taco at Two Brothers and then be like, all right, I'm gonna go. That was my appetizer. I'm gonna go get my sandwich now at the older brother. You can make that is something you could do, and you should try it. So. You want to enjoy a fantastic meal, you know where to go. Go to the Cotton District and enjoy at two of Robbie and I's favorite restaurants, Two Brothers Smoked Meats and The Older Brother. Great products, great service. Every business likes to promise it to you. They deliver it to you at Advantage Business Systems. That's what they've been doing for 50 years. 50. Oh, it's the ones where you catch me off guard that are my favorite.
You never know if I'm going to go like
I never know what you're going to do. Yeah.
like screamo burp metal or burp metal like
yeah. Like Nathan Explosion on Metalocalypse.
Correct.
Yes, yeah.
Correct.
Nothing. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. When you you need technology for your business, you need to call Advantage Business Systems. If you're in need of a new copier or a new printer, whatever it is, give them a call today. And then if you do need service, which it's a machine, inevitably you will need service, you know that you're in good hands. You know that you got to talk to the same people who made you the sale. They've already had your back once. They'll have it again with service after the sale. 601-362-9192 or visit them online, absms.com. Find out how Advantage Business Systems will help your business do business. If you're going to be in Starkville anytime soon, or even if you're not and you just want to shop online, if you're looking for MSU gear for Dad for Father's Day, for any reason, Maroon & Co. Maroonandco.com is the website. The biggest selection of Mississippi State gear you can find. You can't find a more comprehensive selection with all the logos that you want and everything you're looking for. It's at Maroon & Co. I have been shopping at Maroon & Co. One of the great thrills of losing weight has been I can just go in there and buy stuff off the rack. And I've been doing that. And they've got some great stuff. And even I don't have a problem using my own promo code. I stride up to the register confidently and say, I'd like to use Thunder 15, please. And they always say yes. I have yet to find these exclusions they keep talking about. Maybe they're out there, maybe they're not. But you should do it. Thunder 15, 15% off, regular price. Some exclusions do apply, apparently. Next time you need MSU gear, the place to go is Maroon & Co. Guys, we only got a few days left on this John Deere Drive Green Spring Sales event. If you miss out, you got no one to blame but yourself. Robbie and I have been telling you about it for weeks now. You want to get that lawn looking its absolute best, you need a John Deere. If you need a new Gator or commercial mower, you can get 0% financing up to 48 months. If you need a new compact tractor, you can get 0% financing up to 72 months. Where? At Scruggs Farm Lawn and Garden. Everything you need to keep your lawn looking its best, to keep your house looking its best, to keep your grill looking its best. Everything under one roof. It's at Scruggs Farm Lawn and Garden, 3575 Tom Watson Drive in Saltillo. You can shop online at scruggsfarm.com. Scruggs Farm Lawn and Garden, they have what you want for less. Mississippi State's basketball transfer portal, it's almost done. There's maybe a couple. It's not quite done yet, but we're close enough. I've been waiting to talk to this guy for a few weeks. I wanted to see what was going to happen with our good friend Van Allen Lubin. Alan Lubin, whatever his name is.
Lee.
Lee Roth. But it doesn't appear he's heading to Mississippi State, so I pulled the trigger. Isaac Trotter covers college basketball for 24/7 Sports. In my opinion, one of the top college basketball guys you want to talk to. He knows the guys. That's why I want to have him on the podcast today. Let's go down to my interview with Isaac Trotter of 24/7 Sports. And, of course, all of our interviews here on Thunder and Lightning are brought to you by Allura Modern Wellness. I was there just last week. Guys, I'm almost 50. I've been trying so hard to get back into shape. I mean, it hurts, man. You go out there, you exercise, you put your body through it. You got to give yourself a little treat every now and then, and that's what I do at Allura Modern Wellness. I take advantage of their cryotherapy facility. Love it. I'm telling you, something about being 3-4 minutes at that incredibly cold temperature, you come out feeling really, really good. But if that's not for you, they have so many options there. Whatever is bothering you, whatever relief you need from pain, from stress, it's all right there at Allura Modern Wellness. Head over to their location on Highway 12. If you're from Starkville, it's right next to China Garden. So if you know where China Garden is, you know where Allura Modern Wellness is. And talk to our friend Rich there. He can put together a plan for just one thing, or if you want to pamper yourself for the whole day, it's all right there at Allura Modern Wellness. Let's go now to my interview with 24/7 Sports' Isaac Trotter. A lot going on at Mississippi State baseball-wise, but we got to get back to hoops here for just a minute as Mississippi State's transfer days I think are coming to an end. Isaac Trotter, 24/7 Sports, the man we love to talk to about college basketball. This first time on the podcast, we had him on the show a few times, and we had to get him on here. And let's just jump right into this group that Mississippi State's brought in. Five guys listed on the website here. Let's start in the backcourt with the guy who I think was the first to commit, Jabari McGee out of UAB. I love the 3-point shooting numbers. Hubbard needs another guy in that backcourt who can provide some real confidence from behind the 3-point line. What do you like about McGee?
Yeah, I think he's settled into like their third guard, maybe the first guard that they come off the bench. You know, the 3-point shooting definitely stands out. He's a thick guard, 6'1", 205. So I don't think the physicality of the SEC is going to be too much of a problem there. Good eval. I think this is a smart eval, fits with what their system is. I also think he adds a little bit more of like being able to get downhill and get to the rim. Like he 40% of his shots last year were at the rim. He can finish through contact. He's kind of like got some craftiness to his game a bit as well. So I think the 3-point shooting, the drives, the defensive upside, I think it makes sense. You know, I don't project him to be a starter, but for a guy to play 18 to 20 minutes off the bench, I think you feel pretty good about what McGee can bring as a vet.
The guy you probably are going to project as a starter is Jaden Epps, coming to Mississippi State from Georgetown. Another good 3-point shooting guard, a guy who can run the point for Mississippi State. I thought that was where State ran into some trouble last year, as they put a lot of the responsibility of running the point. The way I put it on the show, Isaac, was they wanted Hubbard to run the offense, but they also wanted to run the offense. He was the offense, and it was difficult for him to run through at the same time. Epps gives him a great option there to play at the 1, but he can play at the 2 as well.
No, great point. I think they can do a little bit of both, right? They're both kind of combo guards that are wired to score. And so I'm fascinated to see how they coalesce together defensively. But offensively, I think you're right. I think Epps will make Hubbard's life easier. I think Hubbard can make Epps' life easier, and they can play off each other a little bit in that regard. You know, Epps has not been a super efficient scorer throughout his career. I think that his shot diet has to change a little bit. Getting him to take more catch and shoots, playing him off the ball, I think can help them. But you're right. I think he's going to be a guy that they can also run through some point guard duties. But at the same time, like Epps isn't like that traditional point guard. Like I think he walks on the floor being like, I'm here to get buckets. And so I think that's like kind of what his job is when he steps on the floor. He's like, I'm going to go score. And I think at Mississippi State, they're going to need that second fiddle, like you said, behind Josh Hubbard. It can't be the Josh Hubbard show every single possession. And I think that's where Epps plays into that role a little bit.
Looking at the next guy who can play in the backcourt, can play in the front court, I like the versatility of Amir Ali coming in from Arizona State. Played really well down the stretch for the Sun Devils. Looked like a guy that, you know, can be a double-digit scorer if he's given the right opportunities. How does he fit into what Chris Jans wants to do here?
Yeah, well, he's more talented than maybe some of the guys that are ahead of him on the depth chart, I would say right now. He's a really talented kid. You know, I think right now I'd probably project Sean Jones to start, but Ali could be a guy that gives them that swing piece at the 3, who can really shoot it from 3. I think he can play a little bit of small ball 4. I don't expect them to do that too much during SEC play with just the athleticism there, but 6'8", can dribble it a little bit. But I think you're really targeting him for what he could be in a couple years. He'd be a guy that I think would be a really good year 2 transfer breakout type of candidate, where he comes in next year, maybe he's your 7th man, gives you good minutes as a stretch wing who can knock down some jumpers. But that year afterward, with some more added strength and mobility, like we've seen Chris Jans' crew, how good at player development they are, he could be a piece down the road where I think he could develop even to more than just a big shooter. You know what I mean?
It's interesting to hear you discuss that because, you know, today in the transfer portal, we never think about the next season on. But if Ali is the guy who can come in, yeah, you could get a good piece this year. And then by next year, he and Hubbard could be a tremendous 1-2 punch.
Totally. Yeah. And, you know, I think defensively they can get more out of him as well. Like at times, I think he was out of position at Arizona State. Arizona State's bigs got hurt. Like he was guarding. Sometimes you'd walk him and he's guarding like a 6'11", 240-pound center. Like that's not his job. Like, so I think now we could see a different level from him when he's getting to guard maybe some of more of those bigger wings. And I think that they're going to need length from that wing spot, especially if they're going to go with Hubbard and Epps. Those are, you know, 5'11" and 6'1", 6'2". You need a big wing who can step up defensively. If he's their 3-and-D option that can make threes and guard at a high level, maybe he's your version of RJ Melendez, who was taking some of those bigger assignments defensively last year. I think that would be a pretty strong fit.
If you judge transfer portal winners based off the name of the player signed, Mississippi State would be winning in a cakewalk because Achor is coming to Mississippi State. I was thrilled just from the content perspective of getting to cover a guy named Achor, but his stats are very impressive. He didn't have a great year last year at Kansas State. Some mix-ups there apparently in the portal, and it just didn't go well for him there. But the year before that at Samford, playing for our guy Bucky, who, loves the three ball, and Mississippi State last year didn't have that true stretch four, a guy who could get out there and play physical, but give you a three-point shooting option. That's what they're hoping from Achor. Can he be that guy?
It's interesting, right? Like, this is the fourth guy we've talked about. All four of these guys are plus shooters. Like, that's kind of what
they had to have that, Isaac, after last year. They had to have that.
They just had to. So you're starting to see like a mentality of what they're trying to look for, of what they prioritize. Now, Achor, at Samford, he was a small ball five. I think at Mississippi State, he probably downshifts into the four. Mm-hmm. He looks to me like their Keyshawn Murphy replacement. He's a slick athlete. He's got quick feet. I think you can see him doing what Murphy did in those short rolls where he gets in the middle of the floor, hit those little floaters. Maybe he can find some passing. I think his passing and playmaking is underrated, and I think they can get more out of him in that regard, adding different levers to what this offense could be. And you're right, like, that jumper is so key for him because when he can hit those threes, that sets up those long closeouts. And when he can drive the basketball, someone's flying out at him and he can drive the basketball, he can finish above the rim with the best of them. He can put his absolute forehead on the rim and throw down some big-time dunks. So I think athletically wise, it makes sense. There's some questions there after the Kansas State debacle, but I don't blame Achor for those things. I blame more the roster construction that Kansas State had, kind of compiling 6 or 7 power forwards. I think this makes a lot more sense for him and for Mississippi State as kind of like a post-type sleeper. That's how I would kind of describe Achor to Mississippi State.
A name that hasn't been mentioned yet because he hasn't signed anywhere yet. Mississippi State felt like they were in pretty good shape with Van Allen Lubin. Now, we could have run around the clock a year, and it would have been the same thing. State felt like they were in a good position with Van Allen Lubin a year ago. Nobody knows where this guy's going to end up. Just if you want to put a crystal ball in, go ahead and do it right now. Where does he end up?
NC State. I think that's kind of where I think that's kind of where it is. We've heard it could be a decision anytime soon, but it's been weird, right? Like 4 schools in 4 years bouncing around. I think he would make sense for what Mississippi State would want in that front court. I can see why they like him. I can see why he likes the opportunity that could be there. But no, I think he's heading to NC State.
We shall see. The big man replacement, you mentioned Keyshawn Murphy, and from an offensive standpoint, Murphy was really good last year, but State did not have a true rim protector a season ago. They went out and got one there in Wichita State's Quincy Ballard. I mean, this guy, an old school 5 in the middle of the paint to give State something that they didn't really have last year, but that they did have 2 years ago when they had Tolu Smith and Jimmy Bell patrolling the paint for them. This is a guy, if you wanted me to describe a Chris Chan's basketball player, I think this is the guy. I think he's going to have a big year in Starkville. What do you think?
I'm hesitant to say this. I think he's my favorite transfer that they've gotten.
Wow.
He's big. He's physical. He's been around. What is this, his 6th year of college basketball? Mm-hmm. He's so strong. He can root out all of the, Florida's going to play a double big lineup. I think Georgia, we could see a double big lineup. Like, you're going to need Kentucky's going to play double bigs, like, at some times. Like, you need these guys. Like, you need 6'11", 250 to root them out of the paint, to rebound, to protect the rim. I think Mississippi State's defense got a little bit like, they just didn't look like themselves at times last year, right? They gave up a lot of open threes, more than you're kind of used to. They weren't elite at protecting the rim like you thought they could be. But I think maybe this addition of Ballard gives them a chance to maybe get back to their, like, maybe a little bit more traditional defensively, where you're playing a deeper drop coverage. You're not letting up shots at the rim as much. And I like him. I think he's a really, really nice addition, a nice fit for what he's going to be. Like, you need gritty, tough role players, and all the other guys, like, maybe there's a little bit more sexy names in here. I think Quincy Ballard, pound for pound, is going to give you exactly what they wanted. I think he's a 25 to 28 minute guy at minimum. And guess what? He doesn't foul. He does not foul. He knows how to defend without fouling, and that's a huge asset.
Yeah, you mentioned it. State's issue last year, they weren't weak. They were weak at the rim, and so they felt like they had to double team a lot. And that's what led to a lot of those open threes, and teams just nailed them at an inordinately high proportion against Mississippi State. I think if you look at this class, Isaac, it really feels like Jan's trying to get back to his roots a little bit. These guys are all plus defenders. He's got some length coming in. He's got some guys that can play physical basketball the way he wants to play it. But as you mentioned, the added bonus of you got some good shooters in here as well.
Yeah, I think you're going to have like your meat and potatoes up front with like I think just like Amir Ali and Ballard are like different too. Like they complement each other well because they're different type of players. I can see that fit together making sense. It really does kind of come down to how this backcourt coalesces. Because on paper, it's like, oh, Jaden Epps, 16 points a game. Like, let's just put him next to Josh Hubbard, 18, 19 points a game. Like, oh, there's 35. In theory, that sounds good. But I'm curious to see how they could make each other better, how they play together. One ball, is it your turn, my turn? Like, all of those different things. And you have to kind of trust the staff to, kind of put this together at a high level.
All right, let's wrap it up with Hubbard because that coming back is as big a transfer as you could possibly get. I don't think there was any real fear here in Starkville of him staying in the NBA draft. I mean, at the end of the day, he's 5'10". There's not a lot of 5'10" two guards in the NBA anymore. It's not 1987. But as a college basketball player, he's elite, and he can be that guy from Mississippi State. Is there another step for Josh Hubbard? Can he become maybe it's just a more consistent scorer? Is that all he really lacks?
Yeah, I think we kind of know what the deal is with him. I think seeing more from him as a playmaker, continuing his decision making and improving that regard. But I'm excited for what the additions that they've added here of playing him off the ball more. I think that they can really weaponize him as those off movement shooter. You see him come off pin downs and couple screens, and you just see defenders just sort of like freaking out about like where's Josh Hubbard at. And I think just refining that decision making, understanding that like, hey, I'm going to get two on me at times, like play out of that. Trust my teammates, trust the system that we're going to create good looks. But you're right. I mean, an addition like Hubbard is better than literally almost any transfer guard that you could have asked for in the portal. This is a great portal class with a lot of really good players in there. I think retention and keeping that fresh face there, keeping your alpha makes life so much easier when you're just like trying to like our pecking order set. Josh is number one. And after that, you settle into behind that. And not many teams can say that in a roster building era where, rosters just totally flip-flop head to toe.
The SEC is going to be a little weaker this year, isn't it?
It is, yeah, a little bit. Now, it's not just because SEC is bad or like there's obviously still money. But I just think it's like, that you lose the COVID seniors and you lose also another senior class that doesn't get that fifth year of eligibility. So right. I think naturally the talent level is going to come down just a tad. These teams are still really, really good. They just might not be quite as elite. They're, like last year, like Auburn, like has JP Pegues, who doesn't even play for them. And he was like a top 75 transfer and just didn't even play. I don't think that's going to be the type of scenario this year where I think the rosters are a little bit more like, hey, you got 7 or 8 dudes that you trust, not 9 or 10, just because you're losing, 2 senior classes, so to speak.
Is Hubbard your preseason SEC player of the year?
I mean, he would be in that argument. Let me pull up my roster. So I think you'd probably look.
No Condon coming back.
Hubbard would be. I'm not super in on Condon as a player of the year. Boogie Flan from Florida has a chance. Tahad Pettiford, if he comes back to Auburn, I think he'd have a chance. Mm-hmm. Darius Acuff at Arkansas is going to be a freaking stud, the 5-star point guard there. But you're right. I think if you're starting an SEC preseason player of the year list, it's Otega Owe, and it's probably Josh Hubbard in that order or flip-flopped as of right now.
I can't wait to get back to hoops so we can have you on the podcast more often, Isaac. Always enjoy talking to you, man. Isaac Trotter, 24/7 Sports, the GOAT for college basketball coverage.
Appreciate you, my man.
It's so funny. I think State's transfer class is very solid. Should keep them in contention. And what should be a little weaker SEC this year. It can't be as good as it was a year ago. But getting Hubbard back is obviously the catalyst of everything. The whole thing falls apart if Hubbard's not back in. And he is back in.
That is what we have to remember is I just don't – I think the SEC is going to be really good. I just don't think it's going to be where it was because that was historic, what we saw this year. So I don't think it's going to be as strong, but I still think it's going to be pretty good. And that's something you have to consider. I think that played a factor in Mississippi State last year being 8-10. That was a team that was significantly better than the record that we saw both overall and in the SEC. And I think they just were really beat up by the end of the year with who they played. But this team, just on paper so far, is to me, a little tougher mentally, physically, probably a little more defensive than we saw, while also still having the capabilities offensively. So it's a little more well balanced roster right now than last year in some ways, although it's not finished. That they still need to get, I think, I still need to get another 4, which apparently they have the hay in the barn there. We just don't know who that is yet.
Right.
And according to Paul Jones, they have a possibility of landing an international prospect. So we'll see how it finishes out.
He's from Serbia or something other.
There's no way, whoever it is, that Paul pronounces his name correctly, even after he's told how his name is pronounced. There's absolutely no way he pronounces.
Well, I'm gonna sympathize here because I've been saying Quanzo Martin for like 10 years.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm also very intrigued to see where Van Allen Lubin ends up.
Because apparently it's not happening at NC State. So
not happening at NC State. It's not happening at Auburn. It doesn't appear like it's going to happen at Mississippi State.
I know where he's going.
Where? You think he's going to go Ole Miss?
I mean, what's left? They got money.
They don't.
Oh, well, then
not what they said. That's why they haven't.
It will be something
who they needed to land.
We'll see. All right. Tomorrow's show, Robbie will be live in Tallahassee. We'll give you a full preview of the Tallahassee Regional as Mississippi State gets set to start its postseason. If we have any new information on the coaching search, we will update that. Plus, we may have I may have a surprise for tomorrow's show. I may have a surprise. I don't want to tell anybody about it, but I may have a surprise.
Okay.
We'll deal with that tomorrow, though. Guys, have a great Thursday. Back with you on Friday. For Robbie Faulk, I'm Brian Hadad. Thanks for listening to Thunder and Lightning here on SuperTalk, Mississippi.